My name is Noah D.C. Brown, and you don't know me. I'm the fifth-born son in a
What
family
if
of
everything
nine.
you thought you knew about Noah Brown was just the beginning? Ever since Alaskan Bush People wrapped up, rumors swirl. And the truth is far more complex than fans imagine. From life before cameras to a tangled web of relationships, legal drama, and hard-won growth, Noah's journey is both intimate and dramatic. Stick around. This one will surprise you. Noah Dark Cloud Brown entered the world on July 18, 1992, deep in the Alaskan wilderness. Son to Billy and Ami Brown, born into the remote wild, he grew into the family's quiet fixer-all, an unassuming whiz with a wrench or a wooden prototype. At age 20, just as the Discovery cameras rolled in 2014, he earned the nickname Mr. Fix-It. He wasn't just patching a broken generator. He was building a makeshift life for his family with his own hands. Picture a single-room hut, carved from forest materials, where the Browns lived by their own rules. Fishing, hunting, foraging. Through biting cold and endless isolation, Noah would engineer gadgets, jury-rig homemade tools, and cook over with fire, his inventions keeping them all alive. He'd dabble in geometry and physics, and within that rugged outside world, he crafted his own inner space, a hand-built writing desk where he'd spill out poems and letters. He believed deeply in starting relationships with a note. You pour your soul in, he'd say. It hints at that irony he'd later face. Love, like the wild, can't be tamed by simple rules. When Noah started dating Christy, a week after his first love letter, the cameras captured a milkshake date so thick they needed spoons. At first glance, it seemed flat, but when he invited her to meet his family by the docks at Huna, the ice broke. He saw courting as the only path to commitment. But the relationship dissolved, following a heart-to-heart with his father, Billy, who asked him to rethink what he wanted. Noah admitted quietly that he thought he'd found the one, but soulmates don't always stick. Suddenly, his neat little jars of preserved hearts on his shelf, which he joked about, looked more like emotional baggage. Even his father, usually stoic and supportive, called him out. Unsettling, he said. That rare moment of vulnerability cut deeper than any wilderness storm. Over the years, Noah made cameo appearances on the family business and No Shame TV. But his true story unfolded away from scripted drama. His estimated net worth hovers around $500,000 now, though the entire Brown clan is believed to have pulled in as much as $60 million over the show's run. For The Sun and Yahoo, they each made $40, $60K per season. Not billionaire luxuries, but more than enough to keep a family of 9 off-grid and self-sufficient. Then came Rhain Alicia, later Rhain Brown, a charismatic animal lover, who connected with Noah in 2016 when she flew up to Alaska after he sent her one of those letters. The couple became a fan-favorite storyline, offering something gentle among the rugged survival angle. In 2018, they married in Idaho, and by January 2019, Noah's quiet world welcomed its first son, Elijah. In October 2021, baby Adam arrived. As viewers watched, social media buzzed with snapshots of family hikes, Rhain breeding puppies for guide dog charities, and the Browns adjusting to life with diapers and late-night feedings. But where things appeared perfect, shadows had already started to form. Fans were drawn into the family's ups and downs, but behind the scenes, legal disputes were gathering steam. In March 2022, it was revealed the show was canceled after 14 seasons, tied to a $500,000 lawsuit from business partner Robert Morgan over promised earnings from Alaska Wilderness Family Productions. Discovery pulled the plug, while evidence surfaced that the Browns never actually resided full-time in Alaska during filming, a fact that fueled fraud allegations. Even worse, patriarch Billy pleaded guilty to 24 counts for falsifying residency forms tied to Alaska's permanent fund dividend, costing the family future payouts and igniting public scrutiny. Billy denied wrongdoing before his death in 2021, blaming critics he called Bobs in the basement. But those legal battles cast a long shadow, draining their finances and morale. For Noah, these revelations hit hard. His wild fantasy of self-reliance collided with the harsh glare of reality. Amidst it all, familial fractures deepened. In January 2025, Noah and Rhain, after 7 years together and 2 young sons, publicly announced their separation in a somber TikTok. Noah moved into a guest cabin, promised a stable weekend routine for the boys, and said they were seeking counseling. This wasn't just a private split. It revealed fault lines caused in part by growing tension involving Rhain. In August 2024, Noah and Rhain had filed for protection against Rhain, citing threats and substance abuse. Though the court denied the request, the bitter undercurrents showed cracks in the family's unity. And then, in April 2025, shock rocked the family again. Rhain Brown and her new husband, Josiah Lorton, were arrested for alleged burglary in Washington state, accused of stealing $171,000 in valuables. The distress deepened when court records revealed Noah had called for a welfare check on their mother, Ami, alleging she'd been offered meth and was offered medication. The once peaceful family of Bush dwellers was now embroiled in public legal battles, substance use allegations, and a rift that cut right through the next generation. Watching these events unfold from their 400-acre homestead in Washington, where Ami relocated post-treatment for lung cancer, feels like watching a house of cards tumble piece by piece. Noah, the dependable youngest son, finds himself torn between roles: protector, father, engineer, and now a man rebuilding amidst chaos. Picking up from where we left off, the weight of loss and chaos didn't just ripple, it reshaped the Browns' world. Suddenly, what began as a survival story in the wilderness became a saga of vulnerability, adaptation, and fiercely tested bonds. And no one felt it more keenly than Noah, the fixer, the protector, the poet. It starts with Amy Brown. After nearly 5 decades alongside Billy, she was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer in April 2017, a moment nobody saw coming, and one that dropped their chances to around 3%. Fans watched her fight on screen. Painful treatments, shortness of breath, and the family's steadfast presence as she clung to hope. But just 12 months later, against all odds, Amy went into remission, a turnaround that infused the Brown clan with a surge of emotional momentum. Behind the scenes, though, a quieter storm brewed. In 2020, an unexpected wildfire razed their sprawling 6,000-acre ranch in Washington. Overnight, their world of self-sufficiency vanished in ash and smoke. Noah and Rhain were swept into unfamiliar city life, not by choice, but by necessity. While rumors swirled, some even suggesting family rifts or Rhain's pregnancy drove the move, Noah took to Instagram to clear the air. He posted a photo of scorched trees around North Star Ranch and admitted they'd lost almost everything in the Palmer Mountain wildfire. He wrote that they hadn't moved because of tension, but because our home burned down, and they were now renting until rebuilding. In that moment, vulnerability met resilience, Noah's first public act of setting the narrative straight, inviting empathy instead of gossip. Just when the embers seemed to fade, another legal thunderbolt struck. In April 2021, Robert Morgan filed a breach of contract suit against Billy's estate and the family production company. It alleged that Billy made a 2009 deal to pay Morgan 10% of the income from their books, films, and the show, but never followed through. In documents released during 2024 testimony, Amy referred to Alaskan Bush People in the past tense, confirming the show's filming ended in 2022 after 14 seasons. Court claims even stated the series led to significant profits, yet Morgan never received his share. As cameras stopped rolling, legal cameras started, exposing cracks nothing could hide. Then came February 7th, 2021. At North Star Ranch, Billy collapsed after a seizure and died from a heart attack. He was 68. Bear Brown shared a heartfelt message. He was our best friend, a wonderful and loving dad. We plan to honor his legacy. The patriarch's passing didn't just end an era. It fractured family identity built on rugged independence, spiritual storytelling, and living off the map. Into this void stepped rising personal crises. Off-screen, Noah battled post-concussive syndrome. Years of head injuries from hunting accidents and falls left him struggling with memory lapses and disorientation. Instead of hiding it, he laughed. Admitting it even changed his taste buds. But laughter masked something deeper. A man rewiring his mind and heart under public scrutiny. Meanwhile, Snowbird, Amore Snowbird Brown, born November 18, 1994, fought her own medical battle. At 27, doctors found 2 large tumors requiring surgery. though not cancerous. Doctors warned she had over a 50% chance of recurrence. In April 2024, she told her 192,000 Instagram followers, "I have some tests coming up. Hopefully nothing has come back." Her message evoked relief, gratitude, and a unity unseen since Billy's death. Then there was Matthew, the eldest brother, born September 7, 1982, who disappeared from the show after season 8 in 2016. His struggle with alcohol led him to rehab and retreat to California, creating another emotional void in a family already weathering storms of trauma, grief, and fame. Through it all, cancer scares, wildfires, lawsuits, seizures, and health crises, the Browns weathered losses that could shatter anyone's spirit. But there's something oddly cinematic about resilience born in crisis. And this narrative thread finds Noah at its intersection. As he stepped up after his father's death and during Amy's ongoing healthcare, he took on leadership he never asked for. He became the safe harbor when nothing felt safe. Noah shifted focus to his boys, Elijah and Adam, grounding himself in fatherhood. He embraced responsibility, learning to juggle custody, emotional availability, and the quiet panic of rebuilding homes and trust. His Instagram began blending poems with parenting visuals, a mix of grit and warmth that struck a chord with former fans. And then in June 2025, another flashpoint. Noah, now 32, was carted off the Washington Commanders' mini-camp practice after a collision during a 7-on-7 drill. A year after their world had begun to settle, a moment of reckless experimentation shattered the calm. Matt Brown, once the eldest face of calm authority within the Alaskan wilderness, found himself hospitalized after an accident involving gunpowder and a mason jar, an experiment gone drastically wrong. Though he recovered physically, something about that moment seemed symbolic. The detonation marked a deeper rupture, not just in glass and metal, but in the illusion of stability that once held the Brown family together. In the aftermath, Matt quietly slipped out of the spotlight, relocating to California, where he launched a YouTube channel in 2019. Yet behind the cheerful thumbnails and wilderness vlogs, something remained unresolved, an echo of the family's frayed bonds. Meanwhile, tensions continued brewing quietly in Alaska. Noah Brown, fiercely loyal yet often misunderstood, stood at the center of one of the family's most delicate divides. His relationship with Rhain Alicia, formerly known as Ruth, had been strained in the start, not just by typical marital growing pains, but by something far more complex. Family allegiance. The name change, from Ruth to Rhain, may have seemed harmless to outsiders. But to Bird Brown, Noah's sister and longtime confidant, it felt like encroachment. Sharing a name in a family already riddled with unspoken tension lit a slow-burning fuse. It didn't help that their mother, Ami Brown, seemed equally perturbed. What triggered such discomfort over something so seemingly small? Was it the name, or the symbolism of someone new trying to claim space in an already fragile ecosystem? Noah, true to his nature, didn't flinch. He stood firm, placing his wife's dignity above tradition, defending her place in the family even as whispers circulated. In an attempt to bridge the gap, he named Bird as godmother to his son, Eli, a gesture of peace, or perhaps a desperate attempt to stop the family from splintering any further. But the cracks widened again during a brief escape to Colorado in 2019. What was meant to be a retreat for Noah and Rhain turned into a flashpoint. Rhain Alicia filed for a protection order against Rhain Brown, accusing her of harassment, though the request was denied. The damage was done. Something once quietly broken had now been shouted from rooftops. And yet, while some bonds frayed, others deepened. Bear Brown, wild and impulsive yet fiercely sentimental, welcomed a new chapter of his own in 2020. The birth of his son, River Anthony, with ex-girlfriend Raven Adams, signaled a seismic shift in his life. Parenthood tempered him. Not entirely, but enough to see glimpses of reflection where there had once only been chaos. Despite their turbulent relationship, Bear embraced fatherhood with an openness that was unexpected and disarming. He posted photos, shared moments, and honored the bond. And still, one can't help but wonder, why did the family seem more accepting of Bear's partner than of Rhain Alicia? It was a pattern, a quiet, persistent one. Even Gabe Brown, who had long flown under the radar, seemed to find smoother acceptance in his personal life. He married Raquel Rose Pantella in 2019, and together they welcomed not one but two children. With little fanfare, Gabe stepped into the role of a husband and father. By 2021, Raquel revealed on Instagram that they had quietly welcomed their second child. Gabe, the third oldest Brown sibling, was now balancing diapers and camera crews, slowly shifting from bushman to suburban dad. His quiet evolution mirrored something larger, how each sibling was being pulled, almost gravitationally, away from the lifestyle that once defined them. For Noah, however, things were never quite that simple. He had walked the tightrope between family legacy and personal loyalty more than once. Despite clear resistance from some relatives, he chose Rhain Alicia again and again. He moved his family to an urban area briefly, sacrificing the life he'd known for the life he wanted to build. They even relocated to a remote island in search of something that still felt close to nature, yet safe enough for their growing sons, Eli and Adam. But every sacrifice seemed to weigh heavier over time. Was it inevitable that it would all unravel? In January 2025, the truth surfaced. Noah and Rhain Alicia publicly announced their separation after 6 years of marriage. The reveal wasn't tabloid fodder or a cryptic Instagram post. It was a raw, straightforward TikTok video. Noah spoke plainly. They were no longer together, and he had moved into the guest cabin. Rhain nodded silently, then added that they were both trying to find clarity, and the separation was meant to help, not harm, them. Noah made sure to note that he still saw the boys regularly. His voice didn't crack, but his eyes held something heavier than words could explain. Viewers were quick to ask, what happened? What shifted? Rhain later admitted that Noah seemed more functional now that he had his own space and schedule. She too felt better, unburdened by having to constantly ask for help. Their arrangement, as fragile as it was, prioritized the boys. They weren't trying to win points or sway opinion. They just wanted peace. And still, despite their mature approach, it was hard not to feel the sting, especially knowing the lengths Noah had gone to for their relationship. But the story didn't end there. Days later, Noah posted another video. Rhain, he said, no longer wanted their kids shown on TikTok. Instagram and Facebook were fine, but TikTok, in her view, was too negative. A simple boundary, perhaps, but another quiet signal that things had shifted permanently. Despite the collapse of their marriage, Noah's refusal to speak ill of Rhain stood as a final act of grace. He had loved her out loud, defended her fiercely, and let go with dignity. In the wake of their separation, many turned to dissect the rise and transformation of Noah Brown. Once just a boy on screen surrounded by pine trees and wilderness, Noah had become something more complex. A man who juggled legacy, love, and loyalty, often at great personal cost. In contrast, the family's silent acceptance of other partners cast shadows over Rhain Alicia's experience. Was it truly incompatibility, or a deeper, quieter exclusion she could never quite outrun? Among all the Brown siblings, few have sparked as much curiosity recently as Bear Brown. Beyond the wild hair and off-grid antics lies a man who has quietly accumulated a taste for high-end indulgence. Bear, whose public persona leans rugged and spontaneous, owns several luxury vehicles, including a classic black Dodge Ram 1500 and a newer matte gray Ford Raptor customized for backcountry terrain. His wrist has been spotted sporting a limited edition G-Shock Mudmaster, shock-proof, military-grade, and oddly fitting. His real estate portfolio includes a modest cabin in Washington state, a fixer-upper he's slowly turning into a family retreat. While Bear doesn't own a private jet, he's taken private charters, often partnering with outdoors-themed brands for promotions. His financial ventures include stakeholdership in a wilderness gear startup and an apparel collaboration with an off-grid living brand, both leveraging his social media following. Insurance-wise, sources confirm he secured coverage not just for his personal property, but also a custom policy safeguarding his wilderness brand persona, a niche but growing strategy among reality stars. Bear's path shows that unconventional lifestyles, when packaged with authenticity and persistence, can become profitable enterprises. His story underscores a lesson. Raw identity, if preserved, can be a financial asset in an age of curated digital facades. Reflecting on it all, the tensions, the sacrifices, the choices. It becomes clear that the Brown family story is less about life in the wilderness and more about navigating emotional terrain just as rugged. From wild frontier to fractured homes, from brotherhood to breaking points. The journey has been anything but scripted. What's left are fragments of a legacy, some preserved, some lost, and some still evolving. If this left you thinking, questioning, or just feeling something real, tap that like button. Drop your thoughts below, especially if you've ever had to choose between family and the life you built for yourself.